What is up, you guys? Marty McFly coming at you, bringing you guys the merch. Today, we're going to talk about a pretty nice little haul I got through the Thanksgiving break. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I hope everyone had a wonderful week, and I hope everyone is okay and safe out there. Sorry, it's been a couple weeks since my last video, but let's go ahead and talk about this haul. So, when I graduated medical school, my brother gave me a giant crate of vinyl. Basically, everything that he's collected throughout a lifetime. He hadn't played his vinyl in a really long time, kept them in really good storage. They're in wonderful condition. And that was his gift to me for medical school. So we're talking first presses of Black Sabbath. We're talking about Armored Saint, Halloween. We're talking about Hellion. I mean, the list goes on. Essentially, every single Black Sabbath was in there, with the exception of the first album, which he kept for himself. It's got the upside down cross in it, which I know he wanted to hang on to that for as long as humanly possible. Flash forward to this year, he gets a new record player. And decided to play a little bit of the Indian Giver, and he said he wanted his collection back, which sucks. So what he ended up doing is he took about half the collection with him. He took every Black Sabbath, Halloween, Armored Saint, Halloween, a bunch of other records with him, and he left me with about half, which I'm still really grateful for. We have some great albums in there. I'll go and show those to you in another video. But what he gave me in exchange was a really nice collection of CDs. Some of them I've already played in the car. I still collect CDs. I still like to have them in the car. I still like to have the physical media. I know a lot of you out there do. So let's go and dive into those real quick. So first and foremost, we have Slowly We Rot by Obituary. So the guys, man. If you've ever heard the term redneck death metal or redneck metal, whatever you want to call it, that's where these guys come in. This is Obituary, Slowly We Rot, Roadrunner Records Press. So comes with a couple of bonus tracks. Here's our CD, inner sleeve, all that good stuff. Really happy to have this in the collection. I know the CD gets more and more expensive the more and more I see it. This does have 2 bonus tracks on it. I know the OG press, really expensive, especially when you want to get on eBay. Sometimes you get lucky in the record stores and they'll wind down the prices a little bit for you. Really glad to have it. It's the first CD I played as soon as I got in the car. Coming back from where we came from, we stayed about a week in Hilton Head, so I was able to play around with those a little bit, play them in the car, and then we spent some time in Savannah and came back down to Florida. Next up is Obituary, World Demise. So this is off of Listenable Records. Here's the inner sleeve. I mean, I feel like he gave me almost every Obituary you can possibly have, but I did not really own a lot of Obituary prior to this. I have a couple. Most of the time it ended up being streaming. Not necessarily that I'm a lazy buyer, but just one of those records, man. Sometimes they get expensive, especially if you're over in Tampa. Surprisingly enough, any of the vinyl from Obituary, any of the CDs, I think it's just because they're Tampa locals. A lot of their stuff is really expensive over here. So, like I said, really happy to have a lot of their collection. It's going to be a little out of order, so you'll have to bear with me. So here is an album. It's more like an EP. It's really hard to find these guys on hard copy. If you go online, you can try and find it. Sometimes the record stores will have them. But if you do, they're really expensive. So, this is the Raven Age. This is their EP, Exile. Here's a little bit of the open sleeve with a CD in it. If you're not familiar, guys in this band, a little bit of a relation to Iron Maiden, if you know what I'm talking about. So first time I ever saw them was with Iron Maiden. They opened up. This was in Indiana. We're talking 2019. 2019? Yeah. Should be 2019. Anyway, we were in Columbus, Ohio. Drove throughout the day to get to Indianapolis, Indiana. Played at the big amphitheater there in the cornfields. And then a long drive back to Columbus, Ohio to go see these guys play. Absolutely incredible live show. Really heavy emphasis on melodic singing. And I don't want to call it's definitely not butt rock, radio rock, anything. No. These guys do a really good job. Great vocals, great melodies, really catchy, great guitar riffs, everything. And it's all clean. There's a couple screams every once in a while, which are pretty nice. But I think they did a great job. And this is the EP Exile. Really hard to find. I'm shocked even my brother got a copy of it, so I'm really happy to have these. Next up, so here's a pretty rare EP. This band's been around for a long time. They really don't need much of an introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I have pretty much everything you could think of from these guys, except for the really rare EPs, and this is one of them. This is the Forever Failure EP by Paradise Lost. Includes with 3 tracks on the back. Really nice cover. So it includes Forever Failure, Another Desire, and Fear. So Fear, I recall being one of the bonus tracks, but every era of Paradise Lost I really enjoy. So this is doom and gloom, really melodic in the beginning. If you're talking about like Lost Paradise, gothic, really heavy, drudgy, Not a lot of emphasis on the cleans, and then as they go throughout their career, they start doing a little bit more of the clean vocals. But now, if we shift into where they are at now, especially with Medusa and Obsidian, I feel like the last album, Obsidian, encompasses everything that they've ever done. So we're talking growls, we're talking about death metal riffs, we're talking about really beautiful, clean vocals and catchy melodies, wonderful guitar solos. I mean, this band I've been listening to a long time. Really cool to have something as rare as this, because I do not see these anymore. The only thing I could think of that I have is just as rare as this is the B-Sides and Rarities Paradise Lost for their 20-year, I believe it was. And it includes so many tracks. I mean, from throughout the entire discography. I think it stopped right at No Requiem. Or In Requiem, I'm sorry. So I think it stopped right around In Requiem is when that B-Sides and Rarity CD. I see it pop up on eBay every once in a while. Really glad I have it. And this is just another great thing to add to the collection. So something I didn't really expect to see, but this kind of coincides with our obituary. This is the Tardy brothers with Bloodline. So if you're not familiar, the Tardy brothers, all in Obituary, John Tardy, all those guys. So this is Candlelight USA Records. Here's our inside, our inner sleeve. Really cool to have this. I have no idea what this sounds like. I can't wait to play this, though. I mean, forgive me, I didn't even know the Tardy brothers did their own solo work, so I'm really, really excited to see what this sounds like. If you guys have listened to this already, please let me know down in the comments how it sounds. But anyway, can't wait to actually play this in the car. So we're going to keep it going with the Obituary train. And this is Left to Die. And this is, of course, on Candlelight USA Records. And here's our inner sleeve. A lot of the teeth in these CD cases always end up broken. It's just the way it is. So, you know how it is. John Tardy, Donald Tardy, Trevor Perez, Ralph Santoya, Frank Watkins. It just keeps going with the Obituary train. I'm so happy to have all these. This is just a really tough band to collect for. It's really hard to get every CD you want. eBay, if you want to get them, you're definitely going to spend a couple bucks on them, especially if you're going to get Frozen in Time. I mean, that one's definitely going up for quite a bit. That's basically the only one I'm missing as of right now from my collection. This is, of course, Inked in Blood by Obituary, again. I mean, this is off of the Relapse Records label. Here's our insides. So the Obituary train just keeps going, and I'm ecstatic, right? I mean, this is amazing to have basically a completed Obituary collection, minus one CD. Minus one, and we will get that this year. Guarantee it. Needs no introduction. Cause of Death. If you know Obituary, you know this record. It's definitely one of my favorite Obituary albums. This, Frozen in Time, and I think Slowly We Rot. Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to go for top three, probably Slowly Rot, Cause of Death, Frozen in Time. Really, really happy to have this. Here's our inner sleeve with the whole band. This is, of course, off of Roadrunner Records. So, got a couple other things in here, and we're changing it up a little bit. But you know what? I'll go and keep on with the Obituary train while we're here. So, this is The End Complete by Obituary. This is off of Roadrunner Records. Let's flip this bad boy open so you guys can see the inside. Again, I know my brother and I did that big exchange with the vinyl and the CDs. I'm so stoked to have this. This is incredible. You know, I really couldn't be more thankful to my brother for sending me all of these. There's bonus tracks, there's live tracks, there's so much going into these CDs. I'm so happy to have all this, especially to add to the collection. I really need to start setting up. I mean, I have bookshelves everywhere with my books, my CDs, my vinyl, and one day when I move out of the apartment life and actually start looking towards townhouses, in case you're not already aware, rent and everything in Florida is skyrocketing. Everything's expensive, so it's honestly cheaper just to stay put sometimes, and that's just the way it is. One day we'll upgrade the camera, we'll upgrade the space, and actually be able to demo these correctly. Next is Napalm Death, Inside the Torn Apart. And on the back, here you go. So this is not the full case, obviously, but what my brother ended up doing is he had a lot of the cases, and he ran out of room. So he took out a lot of the plastic, gave them back to a record store in exchange for credits, and now we have Napalm Death. This is the second or the third Napalm Death record I have. If you're not familiar with them, man, they've been around forever. You've had multiple opportunities. Time to go look them up. Great, you know, this is just is what it is. I mean, this is grindcore, man. Grindcore at its finest. Death metal at its finest, however you want to call it. Great guys, great band. really excited to actually have a little bit more of them in my collection finally. So, really happy to have this for the first time. And I would like to have it on vinyl one day. You know, it's one of those things. Eventually, you got to pick and choose where you got to spend your money. But I'm really glad to have this on CD. And the CD currently fell out. My apologies. But this is... It just is. It's Morbid Angel. Altars of Madness. This is the ultimate collection on CD. I think the other CD actually fell out, so we're going to just kind of be a little bit more gentle with this. But Morbid Angel, Altars of Madness, needs no introduction. So what we have on here, full dynamic range, tracks 1 through 10. And then side 2 is the Live at Nottingham Rock City. This is the 14th of November, 1989. A week before I was born. That's pretty cool. But you know, it is Immortal Rite, Suffocation, Visions from the Dark Side, Maze of Torment, Chapel of Ghouls, Guitar Solo, Bleed for the Devil, Damnation, Blasphemy, Lord of all Fevers and Plague, Evil Spells. That is how they end the live CD. Really happy to have this. Again, I mean, hello. These guys have been around in death metal forever. Everyone knows their names at this point. But you got Pete Sandoval on drums, Richard Brunel on lead guitars, Trey Azagoth on lead guitars, and David Vincent, vocalist and bass. Really cool to have this in the collection. I really want the vinyl one day. We're just going to have to go and just go buy it. It's just the way it is. I have a couple signatures from these guys. I do have a Trey Azagoth and a Pete Sandoval signature somewhere, and a nice little case in my room. Another band that needs no introduction, originating in Orlando, Florida, small subsidiary of Orlando, Florida. I have the vinyl of this. This was the first album by them I ever listened to and spent time with. Really happy to have the bonus deluxe with all the extra tracks and everything like this, but this is Death with Symbolic. Really, really happy to have this with all the bonus tracks because we got demos. We actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 demos as bonus tracks. Rest in peace, Chuck Schuldinger. We miss you dearly. Wish you were still here with us. But this is Death Symbolic. Really happy to have this. Great album. Probably my... Between this and Leprosy. Everyone's going to get mad when I say that. But you know what? They were just the two albums I listened to first. Was Symbolic, Leprosy. That's how I heard Death first growing up as a kid. And those will always be my favorites. So really happy to have that on CD. So this is something... It's kind of interesting, especially to see it in such a tiny little baby sleeve. Really happy to have it. I remember in the days of LimeWire, I used to have to download these guys because I didn't buy anything off Amazon yet when this band was around. Wasn't really doing the eBay thing too much. And it comes in a tiny little micro sleeve. If you're familiar, this is the lead singer from Sentenced, his project after Sentence broke up and they released the Funeral album, including Vil Lyala. This is Poisonblack, A Dead Heavy Day. So the best way I can explain these guys, imagine Sentenced with a little bit of typo negative in there, a lot of those cleaner vocals mixed with chugs, and just, you know, you can even tell that like bands like him, I mean everybody was influenced by typo negative, but you can kind of get from this, you have the heavies, you have the doot-doos, you have the chugs, you have everything, and then you have a lot of Sentenced in this, and I think for those of us who really missed Sentenced after they broke up, it was really cool to be able to hear this and listen to these guys again. So, really excited to hear this, especially the rest of the record, because I'll be honest with you, I haven't listened to the entire album yet, at least this one. I've listened to their other stuff from Poisonblack, but I have not listened to this one. So, again, really happy to have that in the collection. Took me a hot second to figure out what the heck I was looking at, but... You know, even I don't know. I need to figure out what this is. He didn't really spend any time explaining this to me. I'm gonna sound really dumb. I wish I had previewed this before I went online, or before I went on the interwebs of YouTube. But this is the Delirium Has Just Begun by Tuatha de Danann. So my apologies. I'm really bad with pronouncing that. No idea what I'm about to listen to when I actually pop this on in the car. But, you know, my brother does not do anything wrong when it comes to heavy metal. He is the reason why I listen to heavy music. And I'm really curious what this is now. So, Tuatha de Danann. That is what it is called. Tuatha de Danann, the Delirium has just begun. We got 6 tracks on here, maybe a little bit of prog. This came out in 2002. It says the label, heavy metal rock. And goodness gracious, we have a bunch of stuff in Russian. No wonder I can't read it. So we have a bunch of Cyrillic letters on there as well. I have no idea what this is. If you have, put it down in the comments, man. I'm excited. Like I said, my brother does not do anything in a small way. He's the reason why I listen to heavy music to this day. Heavy music has been an outlet for me. It's done amazing things for me, and I can't wait to hear what that sounds like. Now, here is something I've been dying to actually add physical media of. Not very often that I see these guys anymore, and physical media, it's getting harder, especially some of this heavier stuff, man. If they don't make it anymore, stuff gets expensive. So, Will Love Life by As They Burn. Great, great band. I mean, wow. Really, so, like I said, my brother got rid of a lot of the plastic, but he obviously kept the covers and all that stuff. So, here inside, we have our lyric sheets, and then on the front, and then, not really sure what to do to this, but this is the back. This is what would have gone in the CD sleeve. So this is As They Burn. If you're not familiar with them, just jam them, man. I don't need to give them much of an introduction. Great band. I remember this was another LimeWire band for me. When I first saw that title, I said, I have to figure out who these guys were. We're talking a little bit of MySpace. Yeah, a little bit of MySpace era of music. But even then, everything was LimeWire because you wanted to figure out who the band was. And you had to make sure that Best Buy carried it. And Best Buy doesn't carry anything anymore. But we are in that era where I was digging in Best Buy, man. Best Buy used to have everything. Back when I was a Heaven Shall Burn freak, and I still am. I love those guys to this day. I remember every Heaven Shall Burn album I ever got was basically at Best Buy when Best Buy had rows and rows and rows of music. I mean, you could spend hours going through the hard rock, the metal section. I mean, they had rap, hip-hop, they had jazz, classical. Everything was divided so nicely. It was basically like Virgin Records on steroids as far as Best Buy used to be with metal. And sometimes they didn't carry the European bands or some of the Canadian bands that you wanted. But I'll tell you one thing, they had every Heaven Shall Burn record when I was shopping there. Now, I do not have this on CD. Really, really stoked to have this on CD. I think I have the vast majority of their records. I know I'm missing a couple of Latter Day. I have the last 3 or 4 from them, but I know I'm missing a couple. Especially like the Ballad of Benjamin Brieg, things like that. Kind of a giveaway, but this is Iron Maiden Killers. Really, really happy to have this on CD. Absolutely just incredible album. It's Iron Maiden. I mean, it's Iron Maiden Killers. Come on now. So, obviously, first record, Iron Maiden, self-titled, Iron Maiden Killers. This actually includes a special multimedia section, produced, engineered, and bullied by Martin Headmaster Birch. The special multimedia enhanced CD actually includes Ratchild and Killers Live at the Rainbow. Here's our inside. Again, it's Iron Maiden Killers. The men, the myths, the legends. I just saw them recently in Tampa Bay, Florida. They actually did a special t-shirt, which they did a really great job with. Maybe I'll wear it on our next video. And what it was is a Tampa Bay special shirt. So what was on it was on the front, you basically had a giant barbecue. It looks like Bayshore Boulevard, Tampa Bay, Florida. You have an alligator, you have a barbecue, you have a pub sub somewhere hanging out in the background. And then on the back says, live at Amalie Arena, Tampa, Florida, 2022. This has been pretty much of a shit show of a year. Again, 2020, 2021, 2022. Something just always happens. And at least I had a shining beacon when I got to see Iron Maiden play again in Tampa, Florida. They did an amazing job as always. The set list, I think everyone was a little bit confused with. Obviously, they're going to play the newer songs, which I thought they did a really good job with, especially kind of like the samurai setup that they had done with it. However, really confused with the set list. Also, when are they ever going to play something off of Somewhere in Time? I feel like we never get anything from Somewhere in Time anymore. I've seen Iron Maiden twice. First time I was supposed to see them, Velvet Revolver took over. This is talking about Ozfest 05. Iron Maiden was supposed to play in Florida, and I guess Bruce got in a with Ozzy Osbourne's wife, Sharon, and Sharon got them kicked off of Ozfest. That is, anyway, how I was told what happened. So I was stuck with Velvet Revolver, and I was groaning, moaning bitch during that show because it really wasn't that great of a live show to hear Velvet Revolver play. Wasn't all that good. I would have preferred Maiden. Anyway, I'm looking forward to the day I can actually hear Maiden play something off of Somewhere in Time because they really don't touch on it too much, and maybe one day we'll get there. Anyway, and rant. We have one more to go. All right, one more to go. This is the Belladonna self-titled album. This is of course Joey Belladonna from Anthrax. This is Mausoleum. We have pretty good tracks in here, including in the band. We have Joey Belladonna on vocals, Darren Scott on guitar, Joe Andrews on bass, Scott Schroeder on drums, and it says special thanks to John Hamilton and Darren Scott for helping out on bass. Anyway, Joey Belladonna, I have not listened to this, and I can't wait to actually play this. This is the Belladonna self-titled BMG distribution. Do we have a record label in here? I think the Mausoleum Records will probably be the record label on that way. Anyway, I don't know what this sounds like, and I can't wait to play it. Like I said, my brother does not do anything in a small way. I realized I am forgetting one thing that's in the car. My apologies. And it's one Death album. It's the CD. I know exactly where it is because it's in the CD player right now. Maybe we'll have to play that in another video. If you guys stay tuned, I'll go ahead and show you guys what that extra CD was from that Death album, all right? So that's our collection update. Big thanks to my brother for sending me this. I was kind of bummed to have to let go of those Black Sabbath records, but you know what? This is amazing, and I still got to keep half the vinyl collection. So I hope you guys are doing all right out there. This is a long video. I hope everyone else is doing all right. You know, keep your horns up. Take care of each other out there. See you guys soon. Bye.